G'day Internet, we're here again with another purpose-built moto product rundown and installation guide, this time for our brand new brake fluid reservoir. Now this little gem has been something I've working on for a little while now. I wanted to make sure I got it right. There are a few other things out on the market there for it, but nothing that really fitted the style of our bikes and a lot of other customs that I saw out there too. This is just a little bit of a step above in terms of performance from your standard Tigan hose and fluid cap, which doesn't give you the vacuum capability that you need as your fluid works in and out of the brake system as it heats and cools. This little product addresses that problem while doing it in a minimalist way possible and keeping things ultra stylish. Now this is an ultra quick install, so I'm going to run you through doing it on the front brake reservoir and also on the rear. Let's get into it. Now in the box with your brake fluid reservoir will be the fluid reservoir itself packed on with the lid and a diaphragm inside it. You'll also get a brass barb and an aluminium sealing washer. The brass barb can be either installed on the side mount or on the bottom thread, whichever one suits your bike's application best. The tools you're going to need for install are a few hand tools depending on how your standard brake fluid reservoir are mounted. You'll need a 4.5mm drill bit or thereabouts and a battery drill. Now the first thing you're going to have to figure out is how this is going to get mounted. As I said before, the barb can either go in the side of your fluid reservoir or on the bottom. For our purposes on the front of this Ducati Hypermotard, it's already had the fluid reservoirs changed to the plastic Brembos, so we've got a custom bracket that we'll use here, and the fluid hose is going to run away underneath the reservoir. Now that we know that our fluid reservoir barb is going to be running out the bottom, we need to drill our hole for the fluid to run. So what I'll do is load up our 4.5mm bit into the battery drill and drill it out. If you want to be extra cautious, you can install the barb and use that as a guide to run a 3.5mm drill as a pilot, and then you can do your 4.5mm if you're worried about damaging the thread. Once you've got your hole drilled, it's a good idea to use a larger drill bit down inside just to clear off any swarf from the edge of the hole, and then make sure that you double check there's no debris down inside it. This can wreak havoc with your brake fluid system, so you want to make sure that that hole is nice and clean. And before we remove our old brake fluid reservoir, just going to nip up this barb here with our 9mm spanner. So that's nice and tight. Now we can get to removing the old one. A trick for you guys playing at home is remove your reservoir's mounting bolt, but don't take the lid off just yet. What we're going to do is remove the reservoir without taking the lid off, because that saves a lot of spillage on your handlebars and across the front of your bike. So I'm going to get a couple of rags here to make sure that nothing spills on my paintwork or anything like that. Take off the clip that holds the hose on. Just work that off with a pair of pliers. And once that's over the end of the barb, like that, you should be pretty free to pop that off. Now, what I'm going to do is just put a zip tie to hold my hose up around here so I don't get any fluid spillage. We're going to run through and bleed the brakes again after this, just to the lever, but it'll save you a lot of headaches if you don't completely drain this hose out and make sure that you don't get air bubbles through your braking system. So once you get that off, you'll see because the diaphragm's still in place on the old unit, you're not going to get brake fluid anywhere, just a couple of drops. If you need to, snip your fluid hose to length. But the thread's in here in an M6, so what I'm going to have to do is fit this onto my hose, and then we can get just get a fastener to fix it in place. Get that all the way home there. Now once you got your reservoir in place, for the purpose of this instruction, we've just sort of gone off the standard mount. Now you could get creative and make your own mounts and move this pretty much anywhere you want to. That's what we encourage you guys to do with all of our products. make something of your own, get creative with our stuff. We love seeing what you get up to with it, but for this sake of this, we're just going straight onto the mount. We've got the air bubbles out of our hose after install, so now we'll fill up the reservoir. I'd say probably fill it maybe 2/3 of the way. Give the hose a little squeeze just to make sure that you got any air bubbles out, which we're sweet now. And then just top it up. And you probably want to stay down, let's say a distance of maybe 10 mil from the top, but you can sort of see it with the diaphragm when you put it in place. So we've got that sorted out now. Pop our diaphragm in the top there. And then the cap tightens down onto that. Now just do this up finger tight. You can't get a tool on it anyway, but just give it a little nip up. So that causes the diaphragm to seal on the main body. And then just ensure that during this process, we've got a little tiny hole in the lid. That can't be blocked because that's your sort of vacuum equalizer that goes through the top of the lid into the top of the diaphragm. I've just repeated our process from the first install. Drilled our hole out, got our barb in place. I'll mention again here, just make sure you don't over tighten these barbs. You'll feel them crush down in the washer. A little bit is all you need. I'll give you a torque value, but I definitely know you're not going to use a torque wrench on one of these. So just do it by feel like a real man. And we're about to pull this off. So that's all in place, ready to go back on. I'll just undo my little clip here now and then making sure we leave the cap on again so we can pull it off and we're not going to get a big leak. New res in place. Make sure the hose length is right. I should mention these barbs are a little bit better than your standard brake reservoir barb, so make sure you get the length right on your hose because they can be pretty tight to get off again. As I mentioned before, get a bit of fluid in there, give your hose a bit of a squeeze, making sure that you have no air bubbles locked in the hose from the swap. We do want to make sure we bleed this brake system afterwards. If you need to know how to bleed a brake system, look at about for the other 3 million videos on YouTube. It will show you how to do that to different degrees of success. And that's it. Job done. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up on our brake fluid reservoir install. As you can see, these are a cracking little product and I cannot wait to start applying them to a lot of our custom builds around here. I'm sure you guys are pumped as well to get them on your own bike. So thanks for watching and supporting PBM. We'll see you on the next one.